Hey guys, HxH here, back with yet another HxH Volume review. Now this is Volume 4 and it holds a very special place in my heart. Unfortunately, I didn't have the pleasure of starting off with the HxH manga. I started off with HxH 2011 all the way back in 2017. And this was episodes 15 and 16, which are covered in this material, which really made me fall in love with this series, and which made me realize that HxH is something special, and this manga variant of these events portrayed in the animes is really magical. There is really no other word to say. This is by far the best of the first 4 volumes of HxH. It is absolutely incredible, and from its span of from chapters 27 to 35, it is done absolutely masterfully. We go all the way from the start of the events where Hisoka is tracking down Kurapika and Leorio, all the way till the hunter exams have been finished, and we get that amazing cliffhanger at the end with the reveal of Illumi Zodic. So, starting off with chapter 27. Now this is a really frantic chapter. At this point, we've had a sort of mixture of exposition and action. It's been very well concocted by Togashi, and here Togashi is just letting everything play out. There is absolutely no exposition, it is all action. Now on one hand, this is excruciatingly tense, but it is also amazingly excited all at the same time. And I absolutely love it. We have some absolutely stunning panels, the fluidity, this sense of fear that we get from Hisoka, and I love in that moment that there's just small additions within the mangas which doesn't get adapted to the animes, like Leorio flicking his knife and that small animation of him catching it. It adds an element of excitement that otherwise we wouldn't have really had. Everything feels tense. It does truly feel like there will be a face-off, and at this point Hisoka has been betrayed much more scary and terrifyingly than any of the animes did. He is this unstoppable force. Going up against Hisoka is certain death, and that's what makes it so engaging, is that we the audience understand how much of a monumental task this is. So Kurapika and Leorio cleverly manage to negotiate their way out, but Gon is left still tailing Hisoka. And we get this panel. Now the chills that this gives you is unlike anything that I can describe. Really, in the anime, this was the moment where I loved HxH, but in the manga, it's done so much better, right? The change in art style that Togashi has explored and experimented with is really coming into its own, and we get several panels of Hisoka which are just absolutely incredible, and we can feel Gon's very literal anxiety coming up against this unstoppable monster, and I love it. We get so many panels where it really does portray Hisoka as the Grim Reaper. Now I'm going to do a video about that topic exactly, but I really do love this chapter. Chapter 27, no exposition, it goes by in a flash. Now I'd say this is a 10 out of 10 chapter. It is a perfect chapter. There's nothing Togashi could have done to make the chapter better. It's just one of those ones. It's an old-timer, right? It's the best chapter since chapter 1, and it really is one of a kind. And I just love the frantic pace of these 2 chapters in particular. Here we have Gon managing to take Hisoka's badge, and then afterwards, getting hit himself. And I love the fact that Togashi is willing to experiment with the art style, where here he's changing it to make us go into the mind of Gon that's just been hit with this tranquilizing dart. And it really is very captivating, and we get this brutality of Hisoka carrying the decapitated head of the person that stole Gon's badge, and we just see a lot of what will shape HxH in the future. It feels monumental in the best way possible. Whilst these events are happening, it feels like events are going to stick with us and that are going to shape the future of the stories, and Togashi did not let us down. Over the next few chapters, it spans over to Leorio and Kurapika, and whilst these chapters are great, I must say they are far less engaging. But nonetheless, they're very good. We see a lot of the character dynamics building. We see really the foundation of that relationship between the group that they all have, as they're all refusing to let Leorio go by himself. Leorio is saying, forget the alliance, I'm on my own now, guys. You guys have finished the exam. I need to be with you. I need to do this for me. And Gon and Kurapika are completely stubborn. They're unwilling to go and do what would be best for them. And I love that. We've got a lot of, of course, intense situations where Ponzu is stuck, of course, with Bourbon, who's created the trap of all the snakes. And you've got Gon's quick thinking, which has been exhibited all throughout the series, that gets him out of the pickle. And I love the feeling of just playfulness that Togashi is hinting, even in those tense moments. We've got that moment where, of course, Gon's taking Ponzu's bad and he's saying, this is my fee for saving you. And it's very charming. There's something so charming about it. And then, of course, you've got Killua, who's single-handedly dealt with everyone. We see him and Hanzo have a bit of a back and forth, which is very interesting. We see that Killua's playing Hanzo, and they've sort of figured each other out. They are raiding each other, and they're testing each other out. And I love those moments where you've got two characters which are clearly on a higher echelon, and they're both going, aura for aura. It's very, it's a layman's term description where I could do a lot better, but that is the basic principle, and I love their back and forth. I love just the duality of these characters. It really does feel like there is such an incredible depth of just difference and power scaling, and it really is interesting to see that Hunter x Hunter is not at all a series about strength. If it was, Hanzo, Killua, and of course Illumi and Hisoka would be the only ones to pass, but it's not, and it creates for some extremely interesting situations. And another part I love about it is just all these frames we have where we get little moments that take us out of the story, and we get to really appreciate just the little details. Togashi adds each badge that each of the winners got. And I love little things like that because it gives us a sense of accomplishment, right? These story threads aren't just something that goes on forever. They've got payoffs and we've got satisfactory conclusions. And that's something which is very important to a story. It's really important because we need to have a reason to be engaged. And let's say we've got something going on. We want to see the conclusion and we want to see how that conclusion goes on to the rest of the exam. And Togashi goes straight from that spread of all the applicants to having the interviews with Netero. It's getting us involved in these 9 characters. The premise of chapter 32 is to sell us on these 9 characters and make us care. And we all do through little pieces of exposition, which is done very masterfully. We learn a lot about these characters. We've got Gon's heart-to-heart with Kurapika. We've got Hisoka's bloodlust against Netero. We've got Bodro as well, that, he is not going to face off against children, giving him that moral compass. We've got Hanzo's pessimism against Hisoka. We've got, of course, Hisoka rating Killua. Each of them are linking each other through their own interactions, which is driven by characterization. It's not just a narrator like in the Chimera Ant talk, or just a clunky piece of exposition. This feels natural and it feels in line with this story. And that's what's so good, is that it doesn't pull you out of the story. At the moment, Togashi is using the writing style of show don't tell, and he's doing it to brilliant effects. Everything that Togashi is introducing right now is going to have its payoff, and we really do have a new set of story threads which are linking into the last phase of the exam. This is what the Hunter exam has done so well, is that each stage, each portion of it has felt so different, so unique, and each of the characters have had different motivations all the way through. And it is just so fascinating and engaging. And I love it. So the tournament gets, on the way, and we've got Hanzo versus Gon. this is a very emotional moment. It's a very emotional fight, actually, because it's where we get to see what our main character is all about. There is an expression, trial by fire, and I can't help but think of it when we get to this chapter 33. And what it is that normally this is the moment for our main character to show us what he's made of. He's gone up against Hanzo, someone better than him in every single regard. And yet, he is unwilling to give up. And when Hanzo fiercely shouts at Gon, "Is this all because of your pride that you're unwilling to give up?" Gon just looks at him and says, "I just want to see my dad." There's something so deeply tragic and sad about it that there's an immediately a realization that this exam has never been about becoming hunter to Gon. It's been about self-worth and trying to prove to himself he's actually worthy of seeing his own dad. To Gon, this has all been his fault. He's the reason why Jing abandoned him. If he had been better, then Jing would have stayed. And it is so tragic. And we get to see again the reinforcement of the relationships. Of course, Kurapika and Leorio getting angry. Another scene I like is that all throughout this moment, throughout these two chapters, and then on to the last chapter, we've got an inner monologue from Killua, which is very interesting, where Killua is saying, "Why is Gon rated higher than I am? I'm better than him in everything." And he's sort of learning that these physical competencies and these mental competencies can't beat a raw fighting spirit. Gon has everything he lacks, and he's starting to realize it. And I love this, back and forth where Killua, of course, confronts Hanzo. "Well, why'd you give up?" And Hanzo says, "I started to like him." And it's something so simple yet so profound, right? This fact that the way that this tournament bracket's been set up has allowed people to pick and choose what they want to do. And Gon, because he is so likable, because his will is so strong, it is unlikely that anyone would have really pushed him to the limits, because Gon's just Gon. No one else is like him. He is so entirely unique that he sort of is built for this exam bracket, and there's no way he was ever going to lose. Then we get something exceptional. We have Gon that passes out, and we've got him waking up. And then Togashi breaks the formula. Normally with Shonen, the battle formula goes and it continues until we get to the finals. But no, at the first round, the tournament is over, and we get an expository flashback done in pieces. And then afterwards we get, conversations between Gon and Sato, which are very interesting. Of course, Sato is talking about Jing, and the fact that us, the audience, knows, but Gon hasn't quite pieced it together. It's very interesting. It's very engaging. It's a bit of mystery which is added on. And it's got a dual plot thread situation where on one hand, we want to see what Sato knows about Jing, but on the other, we want to see what actually happens. So we've got, of course, Kurapika against Hisoka. We've got, Pokol against Hanzo. We've got Bodoro against, I think it was Hisoka. And all of these are, interesting plot lines. And then we've got the big one. We've got the reveal that Killua was the person that was disqualified for killing. Killua, this assassin that was supposed to change along with Gon, reverted back to his old ways. There's questions. Why? Why would he forsake himself like this? He could have so easily won without killing. He literally confronted Hanzo about that very thing. And then we get the absolute cliffhanger of the century. Let me find this panel for you all. We've got the reveal. Enemy! And then bang, the volume's over. It's standard stuff, but it's so effective. A good cliffhanger could really make or break the engagement and the momentum. And that's one thing that Togashi during the Hunter exam has done so well, is momentum, pacing, and characterization. And here it felt a bit like a mini conclusion towards this portion of the arc. This really does feel like the finale, and it is quite satisfactory. If I had to give this volume a review out of 10, I'd give it a 9 out of 10, honestly. Some of the some of the best moments within the Hunter exam are happening here, and they really do stand the test of time. For something written and created in the 90s, this really does feel up to par and even better than everything around today. Togashi is the GOAT, in my opinion. Each time I consume more and more Hunter x Hunter, especially now because normally, I read this and I'm just kind of, reading through it. But here for this review, I've had my notes. Of course, I'm not reading them now, but I have them sort of, bullet points memorized in my head. And seeing it from an analytical point of view as a reviewer, it makes me appreciate it that much more because there really are so much bits and pieces that link together like a puzzle. The attention to detail is really quite stupendous, and Togashi really just is him. There is nothing else to say. I mean, all throughout, I felt that this volume started off extremely strong and ended extremely strong, with the middle chapters being engaging, but slightly less. It wasn't as good in the middle. That isn't to say that it wasn't spectacular nonetheless. Overall, I think that this volume did absolute wonders for Gon's character. I think the moments where Gon is depressed and he's struggling with the realization that he really does owe Hisoka one. Hisoka is a roadblock that he has no way of getting around. It's that feeling of hopelessness that is constantly thrown about. And we see that in Gon's dream where he's reaching out and he's holding hands with Jing, what he wants to do most of all. But the figure is black because he doesn't know his father or anything about him. He is completely in the unknown. And we get those moments of self-admission from Gon where he says, I'm glad you're here, Kurapika, because I feel quite lonely if I was all alone. We get the reaffirmment of bonds, and this really does feel like the formula for Hunter x Hunter has been fully established. I talked about in the last volume how Togashi really started experimenting and really setting up his formula in that. But here is where every bit of Hunter x Hunter is on display. From this moment forwards, volume 4, there is nothing else to Hunter x Hunter. And that is the absolutely incredible thing. As I said, some of the best content in the Hunter exam is here. And I think that Togashi, the fact that he is being this good for so long, is just a testament to how much of a monumental success story his life, his career has been. Now, there were lots of other things I really liked. I really liked the change in art style, constant change in art style. I liked the experimental, expository moments. Like, it had lots of moments where it was trying out new angles, new points of view to add text to. And it had little moments where it had a manga panel and then afterwards one on top of it. So it had two panels going on simultaneously whilst not feeling jarring. It's just little things like that that I really appreciate, where someone is actively trying out new things. And it's not something you see very often. Other things I liked is that it fleshed out all the applicants and it really made them all feel like they could be relatable and people you could root for. It really does feel like a very well-rounded volume with an established beginning, middle, and then ends. Well, this was HxH Volume. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked, please make sure to like and perhaps subscribe to the video. Let me know what you thought about this volume down below. I do Hunter x Hunter videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So if you love Hunter x Hunter, I'm recommending, of course, keeping up with the channel, perhaps putting on the notifications. I wish you all an absolutely incredible day. This was HxH Volume. Peace out.
羽ばたいたら戻らないと言って目指したのは青い青いあの